Hi, it's Daryl Judy, Washington Fine Properties, and another episode of Casa de Amigos. And today I'm going to interview a friend, Jacob, who's also a client. But the reason I'm going to interview him today is he's got this amazing business, a small business in DC and Virginia, District Dogs. And so throughout this interview, we're going to hear some dogs barking. We picked this site because this is probably the quietest, most insulated place we could be. We're actually in a training room. So one of the things he does is he does training, but I wanted to bring him on. I think about power players and people who are very successful and people who have really risen to the top, and someone who's thrived during COVID especially. So thanks for having us here.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure.
I wanted to ask you a couple questions about District Dogs. Where did you originally come from? Like, where did you grow up and how did you end up in DC, and then how did we get into District Dogs?
Yeah, so I'm from Kentucky originally, and after college in Kentucky, I went to Missouri. I was a financial advisor, and then I met someone and moved to DC for an ex of mine, which it all worked out. DC is a great city, and I love being here. I've been here 12 years now, so since 2010. When I came to DC, I was in the finance industry working for Merrill Lynch as a financial advisor.
So how is that like, because I didn't know that, so it's interesting. How have you been able to apply those concepts to the success of District Dogs?
Yeah, as a financial advisor, it's about building relationships and trust with people, and very similar with dogs. When people bring their dogs, District Dogs, or walking their dogs, they're trusting us to take care of their dogs. They're trusting us to be their home away from home. So it really is all about relationship building and really fostering trust between you and your clients.
Okay, so you got out of finance. Did you jump right into District Dogs, or what was the journey?
Yeah, so ever since I was a kid, I've always been someone that wants to start my own business, not work for someone. So I always had side gigs. My first job, I was mowing lawns. I did pet sitting in high school. In college, I had a graphic design business. So I've always wanted to work for myself. So when I was working in the corporate world, I knew that's not where I was going to be forever. So I always had a book of different business ideas. I would just brainstorm, write down numbers, like how could I make this work or this work. And it was in, 2014 that I just decided to stop being in finance. And I was 26, so it was like now or never. Just gotta take that risk. And I started District Dogs as a dog walker. So I counted like how many dogs I need to walk a day just to cover my living expenses. And that's probably my finance background. Like I always like to know the numbers of the business to make sure it's gonna work. And then it was probably 6 or 7 dogs a day is all I needed to just live off of, and I thought that was pretty doable. So I could start the business, start dog walking, and then hire as I grew. And then just a couple years later, my first brick and mortar dog daycare was open.
So how many employees did you have from the time you were just going house to house until you actually got a building?
Yeah, so first started, I was the only employee, and then a couple months later, hired my first part-time employee. And I would say in the first 6 months of starting District Dogs as a dog walking business, I had probably 5 or so dog walkers. And then eventually we hired our first I hired my first general manager for the dog walking business back in 2015.
Okay, and then so you decided there's an opportunity. So was it just doggy daycare, or did you start out that way, or did you go into grooming?
Yeah, so I really started District Dogs in a phased approach. The first couple years, dog walking. I opened the first brick and mortar. It was just dog daycare and overnight dog boarding. And then when I opened up my second location in 2018, then we added training and grooming. So I've always been super risk adverse and cautious when I started my business. So I've done it in a phased approach because it made the most sense financially for me, rather than having a lot of overhead, a lot of staff up front, that I gradually grew into the business of what we are today.
Okay, so your first one was in Parkview?
Parkview on Georgia Avenue.
Okay, and then from there, how long did you have that one until you were like, okay, I got my legs under me, let's go for number 2?
Yeah, so that facility opened in 2016, in November 2016, and then in 2017, I started looking. It was probably within a year of that one being open that I felt like I could do a second one in the city. And then in 2018, we signed, or we opened our second location in Navy Yard.
Okay. So Parkview, Navy Yard. If anyone's watching now, like just today, where are you today, and where are you going in the next year?
Yeah, so today we have 5 locations. Today we're in our Clarendon location. In addition to this one, we have our original Parkview, the one in Navy Yard. We have one in Shaw, and we have one in Northeast in DC. And we have 2 in construction right now, one in the National Landing area in the Amazon, their headquarters down there. And then we have our 7th one, which we just signed a lease a couple weeks ago in Alexandria in the Carlisle development.
Okay, so you have 7 locations.
7, yeah.
Right. So it's interesting to me because I thought the finance makes complete sense because you were so smart. I'm like, how is he getting all this? But I didn't know you had the finance background, right? So what is it in terms of, explain a little bit, I thought this was fascinating. When a lot of people were flailing and not doing great and it was a sad time during the pandemic, your business kind of took off.
Yeah.
Like what was that like?
Yeah, it was really, really interesting. Like, so obviously everyone thought the sky was falling in March, April 2020. I thought it was, trying to go into survival mode. But once like everyone realized this was the new normal, like, I know we heard that all the time.
Right.
People started, okay, let's get back to work. And what back to work means is, Zoom calls. And when you're at home and you're working, your dog is driving you crazy, wants attention all the time. When you were in the office, you could just leave your dog at home, not bothering you, they're just sleeping all day. But when you're home, the dog wants your attention. So we saw a huge increase in dog daycare services because they got to get the dog out of the house. And I was the same way. I would take my dogs. And then, so in addition to that, then obviously everyone knows, everyone got new puppies, the shelters were cleared out. So dog training and it just exploded, and just the whole dog, it was sort of like a movement. Like everyone got dogs and then they all needed a place to put them during the day when they worked. So we saw 2020, 2021, our business almost double with the amount of dogs that we're doing on a daily basis from each facility. So it was super scary time at first, and I know a lot of other industries struggled, but the pandemic was good for the pet care space.
Yeah, it's amazing to me because I didn't really think about it that way, but one of my best friends, he was like, I love my dog, but I can't be at home with my dog, right? So taking him off to daycare, and also socialization as well, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also too, you were able to like do grooming as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So grooming is huge in dog training. Those really took off. It's like, so, when you have a dog, you don't always probably need daycare, but your dog always needs to be groomed. And there's a lot, just like you go to your stylist or your barber once a month. It's something that's a regular need that you have. And grooming really took off, and just all these influx of dogs.
So tell me, if someone's coming in, so you have this great business, you're very successful.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like every time I see you, you're like, oh, I'm opening up here. I'm going to be in Alexandria. I'm going to Amazon headquarters, which is pretty fantastic, right?
Mm-hmm.
To get that position. If someone has their loved one, which is their dog, what is it they can look? Is it flexible? Can they come once a week? Can they just come for grooming? Is it every day? Like, what do you offer?
Yeah, so we offer everything that you just said. A lot of people just use us for grooming. A lot of people just use us for training when we're in the training rooms. And a lot of people use us for everything. They'll come for daycare, overnight boarding, training, grooming. They'll come once a week, 5 times a week. It really, we have a ton of clients. They all use us in different ways. Our favorite thing is when people use us for everything. And we like to be a one-stop shop. We like to, you meet your dog trainer, your dog trainer, the staff who are taking care of your dogs. We like to be part of the community. And if you use, all the different services we provide, then you really get to know the whole team here, and we're part of your family. And that's really what we're looking for.
So you and Matt, you said about relationships. How is it like the dogs? We went to come by, and we'll show video clips of the dogs. But how do they know that the dog is safe? Like, what precautions do you have that there's not a dog as a terror? Like, what do you do to keep everyone feeling secure?
So we always do a temperament test. So if your dog comes here, the first 2 hours are on us. The chance for your dog to get familiar with our facility. for us to get familiar with your dog and see how your dog interacts with others. So that's the first thing. We have very well-trained staff, but also we're a very transparent business. There's lots of windows right here. We have lots of windows in our hallway. From our lobby, you can see the playroom. We like to make sure that our clients have access to view the entire facility at all times. And we also have webcams for clients to see. A lot of doggy daycares don't really know what your dog's doing during the day or where your dog is. So one of the best things that we can do is just be as open and transparent about your dog's stay as possible, in addition to our trained staff. And that's really it. We make sure that we have a good mix of dogs. And no, dog daycare is not for everyone. Some dogs are too hyper, and that can cause a fight, or some dogs are aggressive, or some dogs just get super anxious. So we try to make sure we have the right mix of dogs in there that makes it successful for everyone.
Good. So how many people are you employing now? Because you talked about groomers and people at the front desk. How many people are you employing?
Company-wide, we have about 115 employees total.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So how many managers do you have to manage all those people? I mean, that's a huge.
Yeah, so each facility has a general manager, and they have 2 assistant managers, and then some supervisors. And then on top of like the management team in the facilities, I have a district manager who's essentially the manager of all the general managers. I have an HR director. I have a salon manager who's like really oversees the salons. And I have a facilities supervisor, or a facilities maintenance manager. So he does like, when you have 5 locations and dogs are really hard on things, you need someone who can maintain the facility. A dog punched a hole in drywall, you gotta fix that. There's always stuff that can be fixed. So we have a decent sized corporate team that helps support each store, and it's going well, but yeah, it's a lot to manage.
So in terms of the dogs, if you want to make money, right, you do it with children, dogs, weddings, certain things. And the people that bring their dogs here, it's successful, right? I have friends who bring their dogs here. What is it that you want to go to the next level? Like, what do you want to do next? Do you want to keep expanding? Are you going to Maryland? Are you going to, what is it you want to do?
So we actually just filed our paperwork just last week, but District Dogs, we're actually going to be franchising the business and offering franchises to hopefully grow nationally. We already have some early adopters that we are looking to getting things lined up to open the first District Dog franchises. But we just filed our paperwork last week. There'll be a lot more information about that going forward.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
So you're going national?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with my 7 locations in the DC area, for now that's probably going to be the most of the corporate. That'll be the limit of the corporate stores for now. And we really want to focus on franchise business for the future growth. There might be more corporate stores in the future, but right now we're really trying to get the franchise stuff.
So if you're going franchise, what's going to set you apart from the other dog daycare centers? What is it? What's the business model? How is it that you're going to make, if the people are looking at doing a franchise, why are they going to be successful?
Yeah, the biggest thing that makes us successful that will require like our franchises to have the same attributes is really we're part of the community, and we build relationships with people in the community. Like for my general managers, they're required to do different community events on a monthly basis to really get out and people see them out and not just in their 4 walls. It's really important that people get touched by District Dogs in ways that aren't just transactions at our store, but you'll see us with different dog yappy hours at bars and restaurants. So that really goes to a complete experience that we try to give to our clients. Not only are they getting this wow experience in our facility by their dogs are having a good time, the clients have a very pleasant interaction with our team, but they also see us as part of the community. And that's really what has helped us stand out and why people choose to go to District Dogs today.
And how is it that you give back to the community? Because you're a local business, how is it that you've given back to the neighborhoods?
Yeah, so we are very involved with lots of different animal rescues, and we try to get we have one benefit of District Dogs is we have lots of space. We have a facility like this room that we're doing this interview in, and we like to donate these rooms. We've donated them to pet photographers to help raise money for nonprofits and charities. So we try to use resources that we have that can help benefit others in the community.
Oh my God, that's great. Cool. So if we're gonna walk around the tour and tour a little bit.
Yeah.
What is it that you have to think about in terms of safety and cleanliness? Because that would be a concern of mine. If I have a dog, I want to make sure that there's no diseases. What are the things when you're doing 2 new facilities now? How is it that you take extra precautions that if I bring my dog here, that dog is going to be safe?
Yeah, so I mean, you can't see on the camera, but we have a nice big floor drain right here. So you're talking about cleanliness. Every single playroom has a drain. We have a water spigot and a hose. Every day we deep clean and sanitize. And all this tile stuff is 4 feet high. You can spray it down. So we build our facilities in a way that you can completely clean without worrying that you're hurting the building materials. So that's the first thing. And then also we designed it in a way where you can maximize your team that you have. So we're not going to be able to go in the playroom, but I do design them in a way so that if there is an incident or a fight, that staff can go from room to room in a very quick, efficient way. A lot of other daycares might have different playrooms in different parts of the building, and you have to go out the door, through a hallway if someone needs help. But we like to have them all sort of together with fences and different doors, so you can quickly help another team member if something is going on. And we got all the tools in the places that we needed them to be, and have a very, very strict cleaning regimen.
It's great because it's one thing to really think about, and I know the street I lived on, there was a place, a dog daycare that was maybe not so good, and so the neighborhoods had to gather together and shut it down. That's not the case here. So it's good, it's safe, it's clean, and people feel comfortable. When we were waiting to start this interview, there was someone who was here who has been an employee for a long time. So you have 115 employees approximately now. What is it that you do in terms of small business that you keep people involved? Because today people flip jobs very easily and there's not commitment. What is it that you do in the atmosphere that you try to create for the care of the dogs and for camaraderie as the firm?
I mean, so that's the biggest challenge I've learned being a small business owner, being a manager, is having that coworker staff camaraderie and having employees feel that they belong and they have a place and that they're valued. That's by far the hardest part of being a small business owner. And I try to do everything I can. We just had our staff holiday party yesterday, and the individual you met in the lobby, she was just had to talk about how much fun she had and how happy she was that we do stuff like that at District Dogs. So that, but also something that we do that a lot of my competitors don't do. I have an industry-leading matching 401k that all of my employees have access to part-time. We match up to 4%. So it really is the best 401k program you can find. It's exactly like mine I had at Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. So we also have full-time healthcare benefits for our full-time staff, and I try to make sure that when people have a job at District Dogs, that they not only getting a competitive pay, but they're also getting the benefits they need to be able to have a nice life. So that's the big thing. And also we're with dogs. Our job can be stressful because the dogs can be, they're unpredictable sometimes, but in the end, we are relaxed, happy people that get to spend time with dogs, and really trying to incorporate that in our staff camaraderie and being friendly people. It really helps. It goes a long way.
So that's amazing, because if you think small business, I can't afford to pay for health insurance. Certainly the 401k, that's pretty spectacular, right?
And that's my former finance in me, retirement. I always talk to my employees where I tell them, if you want to talk about finances, retirement, just talk to me. That's what I used to do, and it's really important, and that's why it's the first thing I set up when I started District Dogs and started hiring people was that 401k program.
Right, and it keeps people loyal. It keeps quality employees a higher level of employee, right? It keeps people happy. So if they're happy here, they're going to be taking better care of the dogs.
Right? Exactly.
That's fantastic. What about, it's great if they love dogs and people want to hear about dogs, which is great, and you should use Jacob Hensley and do District Dogs. But if you're listening, because I think the other thing is about his business and starting from ground zero on up. What are, if you want to be successful, these are probably the 3 most important things that have helped you, or that you perceive it to be, this is how I've achieved success, how I always try to keep these things in mind.
Yeah. The most important thing, is really having a strong support network, in your personal life. Starting a business is scary. There's risks, there's challenges, there's lows, there's highs. You need that constant in your life of your support network, whether that's a significant other, a great group of friends, family. You want to make sure you're in a good place and ready for the risk. That's by far the most important advice. And I had a great support network, I still do, because it can be challenging being a small business owner. And after that, really hammering down on the numbers. A lot of people start a business and they don't really understand what sales they need, or they don't understand how many people come in through the doors or dogs you need. You really need to hammer down the details of what you need financially and what you can expect, and then make sure all of your costs go in line. A lot of people could start a business and not be prepared, and they're wondering why they're losing money every month instead of making money. So you really need to understand of what you need and if that's even achievable. And then, and the third one is really treat your staff as well as your clients, because your staff are just as important as your clients. The reason why District Dogs is so successful today is because we have an amazing team. If any of you out there are watching, use District Dogs to go to our facilities, you know what I'm talking about. They're fantastic people, and they love all the dogs in our care.
Right, and that probably every person who works here knows every dog's name and has a relationship with them, right? People come here because they feel safe and secure and they're happy. In terms of growing the business, how is it that you advertise? How is it that you're getting clients? What is it that's built this District Dog kind of empire?
Yeah, so we don't have to advertise a lot. Our budget's very small for advertising, but because when we move in, they see our big sign that says District Dogs, and people know exactly what we are. And we really are strategic with our real estate location, where our strategy of finding new real estate. We like to be in sort of city center type mixed use complexes where people live, work, play, and there's always people around. So when we move in, put our sign up, people know what we are and what we're going to offer in the community. So that's the biggest plus. But also, like I talked about earlier about the community engagement we do, we're part of the community. Everything we do, on a weekly basis, we have 4 or 5 different events for joining the community. So people already are familiar with us. They see us. They see our tables. They see my team, my staff, and that really is just being in part of the community and creating this dog community in DC is really just the best marketing that we can do.
And like my business, I would say most all my business comes from referrals. Like I met you through a friend who said you should use Daryl to get your house. So is that probably your biggest referral source?
Yeah, we have a lot of referrals. A lot of friends say, "Oh, you should try District Dogs," and we're mentioned a lot on social media, on reviews. There's lots of digital stuff, and people just go to the internet. If you have a dog, you're looking for a good place to take your dog. Most people go to the internet anyway, and they'll just compare options. And when they read reviews and look at our facilities, usually that sells them enough too.
So, and the amount of money that people spend on their dogs is pretty fantastic, but it's really about, because I do everything about home, right? And what home means. So what is it that you would say, relationships that you see, the experience you've had, how the dogs have impacted people's lives and what they can give back? Someone's out there watching and thinking, I might adopt a dog, I don't know if I can take it, if I did daycare, then I can manage it. What is it that you see dogs bringing to someone's life?
I mean, dogs bring, when I was talking about support structure and your support network, dogs are a part of that. Dogs bring this very great feeling in the home. Like I have 2 dogs, Molly and Elka, and they, even if they're annoying me, they still bring a lot of joy in my life. And it's just okay, I'm just alone on Friday night, but I have my 2 dogs cuddling with me watching TV. They just bring a level of a constant affection and love into the family structure that is super beneficial. And they are a lot of work. I mean, want to make sure you find a dog that meets your needs, whether you're in an apartment or a house or want something big or small. So it is not every dog is right for everyone, but
Yeah.
but dogs bring a lot of joy in people's lives.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm glad you said that because dogs aren't for everybody. And not every breed is right for that particular person. So the size of the house, the temperament, the amount of energy you have to give, so on and so forth, right?
Exactly.
So as we wrap up, what is it like, where is it that you see yourself in the next 5-10 years? What's Jacob's dream for the business and for yourself independently?
So that's a good question. I'm starting the franchise started District Dogs, right now. So this is going to be pretty much, I would say, at least a 5-year journey. Our goal is to get our first few franchises up and running, and then in a couple years maybe have, close to, 20 goal to have 25, maybe 100. So we have different goals. And I would say for the next, 5 years is continuing to maintain the quality of excellence at my existing corporate stores and building the team there, our client base there, in addition to supporting the franchise component. The franchise component is really going to be, the future growth of District Dogs. Will be creating a whole team to support the franchises, a training team, and just a whole structure is involved in that. It's going to be a whole new business, but I'm looking forward to building that business and having another successful business tied to District Dogs. And then, 10 years. District Dogs will still be a part of my life in 10 years, but I really don't know where I'll be in 10 years. It depends how the next 5 goes.
Yeah,
So we'll
exciting.
See. Yeah.
Well, if you do anything like you've done this, you're going to be hugely successful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and so if you're thinking about bringing your dog, your loved one, bring them to District Dogs, have them meet the staff, have them have the temperament test.
The temperament test.
Temperament test. Maybe you dip your toe in, you do a little bit of grooming, but don't wait. Don't wait until I'm going out of town and I need an emergency, like an overnight.
Yeah.
Do the work ahead of time, right?
Exactly. Yeah. If you know you're going to need boarding, you want to come in, get that temperament test done, maybe a day or 2 of daycare so your dog can get familiar with the facility, and then book your reservation 2 to 3, 4 weeks in advance.
Right.
Especially during the holidays. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've seen it. I have clients who are like, oh my God, I can't do this, I can't do that because I don't have a place. And with the number of dogs who've come into our lives, especially after COVID, you book out.
Yeah, we book out. Everyone books out. During the holidays, there can be a shortage of space for dogs to be taken care of. And we noticed it specifically last year. Now we have more facilities open this year, so we're helping up a lot more clients. But yeah, you gotta book early.
And the other thing I think is pretty great about your facilities too is you have a lot of couples, right? And so she'll work in Bethesda and live in DC, and he'll win Alexandria. So if you had a dog, you could daycare it in Alexandria. If you lived in Clarendon, they could bring it here and overnight it. You can flex, right?
Yeah. We have a group chat on the text with a lot of managers in different locations, and if a dog goes to a different location, it's a regular elsewhere, they'll take a photo and say, "Look who's here!" They just like to have a sort of competition, just joke around about. But dogs go all over the place. My dogs right now at my Shaw location, they come here all the time. They go to Navy Yard. They go to all of my facilities, and that's really trying to build that cohesive, consistent experience from location to location, so you know what you're getting no matter where no matter which location you go to.
Right. It's interesting because I don't have a dog, but going to different locations, I know exactly. Like you talked about, you did graphics. I know exactly. It's like McDonald's, right? You know exactly what you're going to get. You know the cleanliness, you know the experience, you know how the safety, and that's really something that you've done that's strong. So you know exactly what you're going to get, whether you're in Clarendon or Alexandria.
Yep.
So
exactly.
Great. Well, thank you, Jacob, for making this time. I just wanted to highlight a friend and someone who's been incredibly successful and built a really amazing small business that's growing into a national business. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And check it out, District Dogs. His website is districtdogs.com. Easy. All right.
Easy.
Thanks, Jacob.
Awesome. Thank you.